There are more than 15,000 AI tools fighting for your attention right now. By the time this video ends, some of them will be dead. Not struggling. Gone, shut down, bought out, buried. The most expensive software ever built is collapsing in real time, and almost nobody is telling you which tools deserve your money, which ones are quietly winning, and which ones are about to vanish and take your work down with them. So here is the whole landscape in one place. 6 territories. Every tool that actually matters in 2026, what it does, what it costs, where it is winning, and the part the marketing pages will never show you. Which of these tools can quietly turn on you? Stay with the order, because it matters. Each territory feeds the next, and the last one should make you a little uncomfortable. Start at the center, because everything else plugs into it, the chatbots, or more honestly, the models behind them. These are the brains, and 4 names control the conversation. ChatGPT is still the one everyone has heard of. Running GPT 5.5, it is the broad generalist, strong writing, strong reasoning, and now able to operate a computer better than most people can. It is the safe default for almost anything, and around 6 in 10 chatbot conversations on Earth still run through it. Then there is Claude from Anthropic. Quietly, Claude became the tool professionals reach for when the work is serious, long documents, careful reasoning, and especially code. Its top model sits at or near the front of nearly every hard benchmark that matters. The catch is price. It is one of the more expensive models to run at scale, which is why people tend to save it for the work that counts. Gemini is Google's answer, and its weapon is reach. It lives inside Gmail, Docs, Android, and a context window so large it can swallow an entire book or an entire codebase in a single prompt. If your life already runs on Google, it is sitting right there, often for free. And it is usually the cheapest of the big 4 to run. And Grok from Elon Musk's xAI made a different bet entirely. Live data pulled straight from X and far looser guardrails than anyone else. That makes it fast and unfiltered for trending, real-time questions. It is also loose enough that it has triggered regulatory investigations in several countries. There is a 5th name worth knowing here, Perplexity. It is not trying to be your everything assistant. It is built to answer questions with real sources and citations, which makes it the one researchers and analysts actually trust. But underneath all of them, a second wave is doing something sneakier. DeepSeek, Qwen, and Kimi, mostly out of China, match the famous models on a huge range of tasks for a fraction of the price. Some are fully open, meaning you can download and run them yourself, for nothing. That price pressure is the quiet force bending this entire industry out of shape. Hold on to that thought, because in a few minutes it explains a graveyard you are about to walk through. Move outward to the next territory, the tools that see and draw, and here you get your first body on the ground. For 2 years, the name everyone knew was DALL. In May of 2026, OpenAI quietly retired it, switched it off completely. If you still see the word DALL inside ChatGPT today, you are actually using its replacement, GPT Image 2, a better tool wearing a dead brand's name. The new king has a ridiculous name, Nano Banana Pro, Google's image model. It generates sharp 4K images in seconds, and it cracked the thing AI pictures were famously terrible at: clean, readable text inside the image. It also edits like a conversation. You can fix one corner of a picture without regenerating the whole thing, which used to be impossible. Midjourney is still the artist of the group. Nothing else produces images that feel as intentional, as cinematic, as deliberately composed. If you want beauty over obedience, it is still the one to beat, though it has always been weak at spelling words correctly. After that, you have specialists, And the trick is matching the tool to the job. Ideogram, for when the words inside the image have to be perfect, think posters and thumbnails. Adobe Firefly, trained only on licensed material for companies that cannot afford a lawsuit. Flux, the open source option you can run on your own machine for free. And then there is Grok's image tool, the one that will draw almost anything, including real people, which is exactly why it keeps ending up in the news for the wrong reasons. Notice the pattern already forming. A tool can dominate for years and still get switched off overnight, and a brand you trust can be replaced by something with the same name and different guts. Keep counting the bodies, because we are not done. Which brings us to the most dramatic collapse in this entire landscape. Sora, OpenAI's video generator. The tool that went viral, that everyone screenshotted, that felt like the future arriving a few years early. In April of 2026, OpenAI shut the consumer app down. Not because it stopped impressing people, because the math was impossible. By some estimates, Sora was burning around $15 million a day in computing costs against barely $2 million in total lifetime revenue. The future, it turned out, was too expensive to keep the lights on. So who fills the crater? Google's Veo 3.1 took the crown true 4K video with synchronized sound, dialogue, and effects, all generated in a single pass, which almost nothing else can do. Kling, out of China, undercuts everyone on price and nails complex multi-shot scenes. Runway is the professional's pick, the one with real camera controls for people who do this for a living. And Seedance, from the company behind TikTok, keeps quietly winning blind tests. There is a quieter corner of this territory too. Tools like Synthesia and HeyGen do not chase Hollywood realism, they make a talking presenter read your script in 40 languages, which is why corporate training videos all suddenly look the same. But here is the catch nobody puts in the demo reel. Most of these tools still only generate a few seconds at a time. A real video is dozens of those clips, stitched together by hand. The magic is real. It is just smaller than the highlight reels suggest. And here is the uncomfortable lesson buried inside Sora's death. The flashiest, most beloved tool on the internet still got switched off, because the people paying for the servers ran out of patience. When you build your work on top of one of these tools, you are renting a room in a building somebody else can demolish. Remember that, because in 2 more territories, it stops being about video and starts being about your files. If your head is spinning a little, good, that is the honest reaction. Because we are about to cross a line, from the tools that make things for you to the tools that do things for you. And that is where the real power and the real danger lives. Territory 4. The tools that write software. This is where AI stopped suggesting and started building. The breakout story is Claude Code, Anthropic's coding agent that lives inside your terminal. In its first 6 months, it went from nothing to over $2.5 billion in annual revenue, the fastest ramp in the history of enterprise software. It does not just finish your line of code, it reads your whole project, makes a plan, runs the commands, tests its own work, and hands back something finished. Cursor is the favorite for people who want all of that inside a polished editor, point at a feature, describe it in plain English, and watch it appear across a dozen files at once. It is the daily driver for a huge share of working developers. GitHub Copilot, owned by Microsoft, is the incumbent, the safe corporate choice, wired straight into the tools companies already use. Google has anti-gravity, built around its own models. And Devon goes furthest of all, you hand it a ticket like you would a junior engineer. And it tries to ship the finished code with no human in the loop. But here is the part the hype skips. Surveys keep finding that while almost every developer now uses these tools, fewer than a third actually trust the code they produce without checking it. The job did not disappear. It shifted from typing code to reviewing it. And watch what happened to Windsurf. It was a rising star right up until OpenAI bought it, and its whole future got rewritten overnight. Another reminder that in this industry, the tool you depend on can change owners while you sleep. Notice the word that keeps surfacing here: agent. These tools do not wait for instructions one step at a time. You give them a goal, and they go, which is exactly the capability that makes the last two territories so powerful and so easy to get badly wrong. Territory 5, sound. And this is where the lawyers showed up. On the voice side, one name dominates: ElevenLabs. It produces synthetic speech so natural it is genuinely unsettling. The breaths, the pauses, the emotion all land in the right places. A huge share of narrated videos, audiobooks, and faceless channels quietly run on it. It can also clone a specific voice from a short sample, which is exactly as powerful and as dangerous as it sounds. For music, two tools cracked the code: Suno and Udio. Type a sentence, get back a full song, lyrics, vocals, arrangement, all of it. Suno alone reached around 2 million paying subscribers and a multi-billion-dollar valuation in barely 2 years. And then the music industry noticed. Suno landed in active litigation with Sony, with a ruling expected this summer that could reshape the entire category. Udio took the opposite road and signed licensing deals with Universal and Warner. Same technology, two completely different bets on whether you will even be allowed to use what they make, and that legal question, not the audio quality, is now the thing that decides which tool is safe. On the editing side, the workhorses are quieter but just as important. Descript lets you cut audio by deleting words in a transcript like editing a document, and Adobe's tools can rescue a recording that should have been thrown in the bin. Meanwhile, PlayHT, once one of the most recommended voice tools on the internet, was bought by Meta and switched off at the end of 2025. That is 4 dead or absorbed tools now, if you have been counting: DALL, Sora, PlayHT, and soon you will see a 4th. The graveyard keeps filling, and we still have not reached the part that should actually worry you. Territory 6, the hands. The tools that do not just think or create, they act on your actual computer. This is the frontier everyone is racing toward. Claude Code sits on your desktop, opens your files, reads your PDFs, builds your spreadsheets, and hands the finished work back, like an intern who never sleeps. Tell it to organize a messy folder and write a summary, and it will spend a moment thinking through the steps before it touches anything. Manus takes a goal and runs on its own for hours. OpenAI's operator books your flights and fills in your forms. Google's agent drives your browser directly. Perplexity's agent runs deep research across dozens of sources while you are away from the keyboard. And for big companies, Microsoft's version does all of this with approval steps and audit logs built in. It feels like magic. And here is the part the demos skip. These tools can click, they can type, they can delete, they can move money if you ever let them near it. Give one the wrong permission and it does not just write a bad sentence, it wipes a folder, sends the wrong email, or worse. The basic safety rule the whole industry now repeats out loud: never hand an agent access to your passwords, your bank, or anything you cannot afford to lose. There is a second trap, too. These tools burn through paid credits fast, so a task you could have done in 2 minutes can quietly cost you real money while you watch. The honest summary is this: the best of these agents is a brilliant intern, not a reliable employee. It will save you hours on the boring, repetitive work and you still have to check everything it touches. The more capable the tool, the higher the price of trusting it blindly. That is the real shape of 2026. Not smarter chatbots, software that takes action. So step back and look at the whole map at once, because there is a pattern hiding in plain sight. You were sold abundance, 15,000 tools, infinite choice. But look at what actually happened this single year. DALL, gone. Sora, gone. PlayHT, gone. Windsurf, swallowed. Cheap challengers crushing prices from below. Lawyers closing in from above. And now government stepping in too. One frontier model was pulled from the entire market this June by a single export control order. This is not a garden of 1,000 tools. It is a brutal war of consolidation, and most of these names will not survive it. The abundance is the trap. Every subscription you stack is a bet that the company behind it is still standing next year, and that your work actually comes with you if it is not. So protect yourself the boring way. Keep your work in formats you can export and move. Never let one tool become the only place your project lives. And learn the map, not just the logos. Because the people who win in 2026 are not the ones who own the most tools. They are the ones who understand the landscape well enough to pick the few that will still be standing, and who never let their work depend on any single one of them. You now have the entire landscape, 6 territories, the tools that matter, and the trap underneath all of them. If this made the chaos finally click, the smartest 20 minutes you can spend next is understanding the brains at the center of it all, how these models actually think. That breakdown is already on the channel, and it is the missing half of this map. Subscribe, and I will keep handing you the whole picture clearly and before the next tool disappears.